100,000 years ago, there were at least 6 different human species on Earth.
At least.
And we were just one of them. Kind of an insignificant animal, really, just minding our own business in a corner of Africa.
We were not the top of the food chain, not by a long shot.
Exactly. We weren't the strongest. We didn't have the biggest brains.
Yeah.
We were the underdogs of the savannah. And now, well, now there's only one. Us.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, how do we get from, scavenging leftovers to splitting the atom and basically running the entire planet?
And the answer is so much stranger than people think. It's not about tools or opposable thumbs.
It's a specific, weird superpower. A superpower that, as we'll get into, might actually be a trap.
It might be, and that's what's so fascinating.
So that's our deep dive today. We're going to try and strip away that simple civilization story we all learned in school.
You know, the one that's a straight line of progress from caves to skyscrapers.
Right. Instead, we're looking at the unauthorized biography of our species. The raw, messy biological machinery that put Homo sapiens on top.
And a warning for everyone listening. This journey, it really forces you to question everything. Money, countries, human rights.
Even your own happiness.
Yeah, especially your own happiness.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's rewind the clock. Take me back, say, 70,000 years ago. Set the scene.
Okay, so picture the East African savannah. But the first thing you have to do is drop your modern ego.
Yeah.
You're not the king of this world.
Not even close.
Not even close. Humans, the genus Homo, are just another animal. And frankly, not a very impressive one. We're sort of in the middle of the food chain.
So what does that actually look like? What's our daily life?
For a long, long time, we were basically professional scavengers. The anthropological evidence on this is just fascinating. You'd see a lion take down a big animal, a giraffe or something.
And we don't go near it.
You don't dare. You're terrified. You wait. But you don't just wait for the lion to finish its meal.
Uh-oh.
You then have to wait for the hyenas and the jackals to come in and take their share because they're also bigger and stronger than you. Only after everyone else has had their fill do the scrawny humans sneak in. And what's left?
Just bones, I'm guessing.
Just bones. So our ecological niche, our special skill, was using stone tools to crack open those bones to get at the marrow inside.
We were bone marrow extractors. That's humbling.
Incredibly humbling. We were anxious. We were constantly looking over our shoulder. And here's the other piece people forget. We weren't alone.
The other humans.
The other humans. You had Neanderthals in Europe and Asia. You had Homo erectus further east. Tiny hobbit humans on islands in Indonesia.
And the Neanderthals. I have this cartoon image of them as, like, knuckle-dragging brutes. But that's wrong, isn't it?
Completely wrong. They were stronger than us, more muscular, better adapted to the cold. And here's the real kicker.
What's that?
They actually had larger brains than sapiens.
Wait, really? Bigger brains?
On average, yes. If you put a sapiens and a Neanderthal in a one-on-one fight, the Neanderthal wins every single time. No contest.
So if they were stronger, and maybe even just as smart or smarter, why are we here talking about them and they're just fossils in a museum?
That is the great mystery. How did this marginal, anxious ape from Africa manage to wipe out all the competition?
This has to be the first big turning point,
What's it called?
the cognitive revolution.
Exactly. Around 70,000 years ago, something happened. We don't know why. It was probably just a random, accidental genetic mutation.
The tree of knowledge mutation.
That's what Harari calls it. And it didn't necessarily make our brains bigger, but it rewired them. Think of it like a firmware update for your phone.
Same hardware, new software.
Perfect analogy. And suddenly, sapiens started behaving in radically new ways. We started creating art, new tools, boats, and we broke out of Africa.
And started spreading across the globe.
Very, very quickly. And this is where the story gets, well, it gets pretty dark.
How so?
Well, you can track our migration path by looking at the extinction record. As soon as sapiens arrive in a new place, like Australia or the Americas, the megafauna, the giant animals, disappear.
We're talking about things like mammoths and...
Mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths that were 20 feet tall, wombats the size of a hippopotamus in Australia.
And we did that with just stone spears.
We hunted them, we burned their habitats. The evidence is pretty damning. We were an ecological serial killer long, long before we ever invented the steam engine. Wherever sapiens went, extinction followed.
That includes the other humans.
That includes the other humans. There was some interbreeding. Most people with European or Asian ancestry have a little bit of Neanderthal DNA.
Right.
But for the most part, it seems we replaced them. Drove them to extinction, probably through a mix of violence and outcompeting them for resources.
Which brings us back to the question, how? If a Neanderthal was stronger one-on-one, how did we win?
It wasn't about one-on-one. It was about large-scale, flexible cooperation.
Okay, break that down.
A chimpanzee can cooperate, a small group can hunt together, but their social world is built on intimate personal knowledge.
They have to know everyone in the group.
Personally, you put 100 chimps who are strangers to each other in a room, and you get chaos. A bloodbath. Their social group size maxes out at around 50, maybe a bit more.
Because they can't trust strangers.
They can't. But sapiens can cooperate with thousands, even millions of complete strangers. A band of 500 sapiens could easily surround and wipe out a band of 50 Neanderthals, even if each Neanderthal was individually stronger.
So our real superpower wasn't our fists, it was our ability to form a bigger gang.
A much, much bigger gang. But how? What's the mechanism that lets us do that?
And this is where we get into the superpower of fiction.
This is where it gets really weird and where you start to see the hidden structures that run our own lives today.
Okay, so language. Usually we think of it as a tool for describing reality. You know, look, there's a lion by the river.
Danger, food, and other animals can do that. A vervet monkey has different calls for eagle and leopard. That's objective reality.
But our language evolved to do something else first.
The theory is that it evolved for gossip.
Gossip. Seriously, like talking about who's sleeping with who.
Essentially, yes. In a social group, knowing who's a reliable partner, who's a cheat, who hates whom, that information is just as critical for survival as knowing where the fruit trees are.
It's a tool for mapping your social network.
Exactly. It lets you maintain relationships and social cohesion, but gossip has a limit.
You can't know everyone personally.
Right. It's called Dunbar's number. The theory is you can't maintain a stable social group larger than about 150 people based on personal relationships and gossip alone. The social order just collapses.
So how do you get from a village of 150 to a city of 10 million?
You have to start talking about things that do not exist. You need to create what Harari calls an imagined reality.
Fiction.
Fiction, but not like fairy tales. We're talking about foundational fictions. The example he uses that I think makes it clearest is Peugeot, the car company.
The legend of Peugeot. Okay, walk me through this. The cars seem pretty real to me.
Okay, but what is Peugeot? Is it the cars?
No, because you could destroy all the cars, and the company would still exist. It would just build more.
Right. Is it the factories or the offices?
No, same logic. They could be rebuilt.
Is it the employees?
Yes.
The CEO? The shareholders?
No, because they can all be replaced. The company itself continues.
So what is it? It has no physical body. You can't touch it. It's a legal fiction. It exists only because a bunch of us agree to believe in a story.
A story written down by lawyers.
Our modern-day shamans. They perform a ritual write-up, articles of incorporation, and poof, this non-physical entity comes into being. It can own property, sue people, pay taxes, but it only exists in our collective imagination.
That's actually kind of blowing my mind. We're living inside these fictions. It's not just companies, is it? It's nations. It's money.
It's money. It's the entire legal system. And this is the really provocative one. It's human rights.
Whoa, okay, hold on. That sounds dangerous. Are you saying human rights aren't real?
Let's be very precise here. From a purely biological perspective, no. If you dissect a human body, you find a heart, lungs, neurons, DNA. You do not find rights.
So there's no liberty encoded in our genes?
No. All men are created equal is a story. It's not a biological fact. Evolution is all about creating difference, not equality.
But isn't saying it's just a story a way to undermine it, to say it's okay to violate those rights?
Not at all. And this is the crucial point. Saying something is an imagined order doesn't mean it's a lie or that it's bad. It means it's a human invention, a tool. The story of human rights is probably the best, most useful story we've ever told ourselves. It allows millions of strangers to cooperate peacefully.
Like the mythical glue.
It's the mythical glue. You can't get 1 million chimpanzees to build a pyramid by promising them infinite bananas and chimp heaven.
Right.
But you can get millions of humans to do it, or to die in a war for freedom, or to pay taxes for the good of the nation. These shared myths are what allowed sapiens to take over.
But if people stop believing in this story, if they start believing in the dollar or in the United States,
the whole thing collapses instantly. History is just the story of us swapping one set of fictions for another.
Which brings us to maybe the biggest swap of all. The moment we swapped our wandering lifestyle for something else. The agricultural revolution, or as the book calls it, history's biggest fraud.
Yeah, this one really turns the conventional wisdom on its head.
Because we're taught that farming was this great leap forward, right? We settled down, got smarter, built civilization.
That's the story. But the argument here is that it was a trap, and that we didn't domesticate wheat, wheat domesticated us.
How can a plant domesticate us? It doesn't have a plan.
Look at it from wheat's evolutionary point of view. What does success mean in evolution?
Making more copies of your DNA, spreading.
Exactly. 10,000 years ago, wheat was just some random grass in a small part of the Middle East. A few thousand years later, it's one of the most widespread plants on the entire planet. From an evolutionary perspective, it's one of the greatest success stories of all time.
And it did that by getting us to work for it.
It manipulated Homo sapiens into doing its bidding. Think about what a farmer's life was like. Clearing rocks, carrying water in the hot sun, weeding, fighting off pests. Our bodies evolved for climbing trees and chasing animals, not for bending over a field all day.
And the skeletons from that period show this, right?
They show it clearly. A huge increase in slip discs, arthritis, hernias, and our diet got worse.
Worse. I thought the whole point was more food.
It was more food per acre, but it was less diverse food. Foragers ate dozens of different plants and animals. They got a wide range of nutrients. Early farmers ate wheat, and more wheat. If your one crop failed, you starved.
So if it was harder work, worse for our bodies, and a more boring diet, why on earth did we do it?
It's the luxury trap. It didn't happen overnight. Each generation made a small, seemingly logical choice. Let's just plant a little bit here, it'll make life easier.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't, because more food allows the population to grow. A small band of 50 foragers becomes a village of 500 farmers. And once you have 500 mouths to feed, you can't go back. You're trapped. You have to farm even harder.
The evolutionary success of the species, more people, came at the expense of the individual's quality of life.
Precisely. More copies of the Sapiens DNA in the world, but the average person was probably less happy, less healthy, and worked harder than their forager ancestors.
And it wasn't just us caught in the trap.
No. This is also the beginning of the systematic suffering of billions of animals. We took sentient creatures, cows, pigs, chickens, and turned them into production machines.
It's brutal to think about.
It is. The life of a modern factory-farmed chicken is probably one of the most miserable existences a creature can have. So this revolution, which built our cities and empires, was built on a foundation of human drudgery and unimaginable animal suffering.
A very heavy thought. But it did create the density needed for unification.
Right.
Which is the next big phase.
Right. History, when you zoom way out, has a clear direction. It moves toward unity. From thousands of tiny, separate worlds to one interconnected global village.
And this was driven by three big unifiers.
Money, empire, and religion.
Let's start with money. It's a fiction, as he said, but it seems to be the one fiction everyone can agree on.
It's the most successful story ever told because it's the ultimate system of trust. It allows people who don't know each other and may even hate each other to cooperate.
The example of bin Laden using US dollars is chillingly effective.
He despised American politics, American religion, American culture, but he had no problem with American money because he knew that other people, strangers all over the world, also believed in its value.
It's a universal translator.
It translates land into labor, violence into knowledge. It works only because we all share the belief that this piece of paper, this digital number, has value.
Okay, next one. Empire. This is another one that feels counterintuitive. We think of empires as evil.
And we should be clear. Empires are built on violence, oppression, and injustice. There's no getting around that. But they are also incredibly powerful engines of unification. They smash hundreds of smaller cultures and melt them down into one larger one.
They force everyone to speak the same language, use the same laws, the same money.
Think about it. We're speaking English right now. Why? The British Empire. Many of the ideals we hold dear, like democracy or certain legal codes, were spread by empires. There's no pure, authentic culture left to go back to.
We're all the children of empire, in a way.
In a very real way. We are all imperial subjects, culturally speaking. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's true.
And the third unifier, religion, gives the whole system its justification.
Exactly. And empire's laws are just the rules of the powerful. But if you can say, these laws weren't created by the king, they were given to us by a god, then you have a superhuman authority that stabilizes the entire imagined order.
And the argument is that modern ideologies work in the exact same way.
Yes. Things like liberalism, communism, nationalism, and even capitalism function just like traditional religions.
How is capitalism a religion?
It has a set of values and myths. It has its holy texts, like Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations. It has its own commandment, thou shalt grow. It promises salvation, a paradise on earth where everyone is a happy consumer, if only we have faith in perpetual economic growth.
That's a fascinating and disturbing way to look at it. So these forces, money, empire, religion, have brought us together into one global civilization, which sets the stage for the next massive upheaval.
The scientific revolution, starting about 500 years ago,
Yeah.
and it all began with one simple, radical admission. The admission of ignorance. For most of history, all the great religions and philosophies assumed that everything important was already known. It was written in a holy book.
You just had to study the text.
Right. There were no new fundamental truths to discover. Science began when people started to say, actually, we don't know.
If you look at an old map, there are no empty spaces.
No, they just draw monsters or imaginary continents. But then in the 15th and 16th centuries, map makers started leaving blank spots on the map. And that blank space was an invitation. It said, we don't know what's here, let's go find out.
And this discovery of ignorance paired up perfectly with empire and capitalism.
It was a powerful feedback loop. Science required funding for expeditions and research. Empires and capitalists had the money and were looking for new resources and power.
So Captain Cook's voyages weren't just about exploration.
They were scientific expeditions with military backing. They didn't just bring soldiers, they brought botanists and cartographers. They understood that knowledge is power. This marriage of science, empire, and capital is what allowed Europe, a small backwater, to conquer the entire world in just a couple of centuries.
Which brings us to the present day. We have all this power, we have medicine, technology, unprecedented wealth. But here's the big, uncomfortable question. Are we any happier?
And the data suggests probably not.
How is that possible? I mean, I have antibiotics, anesthesia, air conditioning. A forager had none of that.
True. But happiness seems to be governed less by objective conditions and more by the gap between your objective conditions and your expectations.
The hedonic treadmill.
That's it. Your brain's chemistry, your serotonin, your dopamine is designed to keep you striving, not to keep you content. You get a promotion, you feel great for a week, and then that just becomes your new baseline, your expectations reset.
So a peasant in the Middle Ages might have been perfectly content with their lot, while a modern billionaire is miserable because their yacht is 10 feet shorter than their rivals.
Biologically, their internal experience of dissatisfaction might be identical. We've gained immense power, but we haven't learned how to translate that power into lasting well-being.
We're gods with anxiety.
A perfect description, which brings us to the final chapter, the twist at the end of the story.
Where all of this is leading.
Yes. For 4 billion years, life on this planet was governed by one set of rules: natural selection.
Survival of the fittest.
Right. But we are now at the point where we are beginning to replace natural selection with intelligent design.
Not the creationist version.
No. Our intelligent design. For the first time, a creature on Earth is beginning to rewrite its own biology. We are looking at genetic engineering, cyborg engineering, merging organic bodies with inorganic parts, and even the creation of completely inorganic life, like AI.
This is the end of Homo sapiens.
It's not about an apocalypse where we all die out. It's about an upgrade. The beings that come after us might be as different from us as we are from Neanderthals.
And this upgrade won't be for everyone, will it?
Almost certainly not. We could see humanity split into biological castes, the rich become genetically enhanced superhumans, and the poor are left behind.
And what happens to the masses of people who aren't upgraded?
This is maybe the most terrifying idea in the whole book: the rise of the useless class.
Useless?
Think about the 20th century. The elites needed the masses. They needed millions of workers for their factories and millions of soldiers for their armies, so they had a reason to invest in your health and education.
They needed us.
But what happens when AI and robots can do most jobs better and cheaper? And when wars are fought by drones and hackers, the masses go from being exploited to being irrelevant.
It's worse to be irrelevant than to be exploited.
From the system's point of view, yes. What is your economic and political value if you're not needed? This is a huge threat to the very idea of democracy and liberalism.
And there's a new religion emerging to justify all this.
Dataism. The belief that the universe is just a flow's data, and the highest good is to optimize that flow. In this worldview, human experiences, consciousness, suffering, they don't matter unless they can be converted into data.
So if an AI can process data more efficiently than a human, then the AI is more valuable.
Precisely. We are becoming obsolete tools for our own creation. We're moving from Homo sapiens to Homo Deus, man becoming God.
But are we ready for that responsibility?
And that's the final terrifying conclusion. We're acquiring the divine powers of creation and destruction, but we have the maturity of, well, of the same old apes we've always been.
We are, to use his phrase, dissatisfied and irresponsible gods who don't know what they want.
We're just pushing all the buttons to see what happens.
What a journey. From an insignificant scavenger to a storyteller, to a miserable farmer, to a world conqueror, to a self-made god who's about to write itself out of the story.
It's the entire history of a species in one breathless arc.
And it makes you see the world completely differently. You can't unsee the imagined orders holding it all together.
That's the goal, to see the matrix.
There's one final question the book leaves us with that I think we have to end on. Most people, when they think about the future, they ask, what do we want to become?
Right. Cyborgs. Immortals.
But Harari argues that's the wrong question now, because soon we'll be able to engineer not just our bodies, but our desires, our minds.
So the real question, the one that should keep you up at night,
is what do we want?
If you can install any desire you choose into your mind, how do you decide what you should want?
That is a question that's going to stick with me for a very long time.
Yep.
Thank you for this. It's been both a pleasure and a profound existential crisis.
The best conversations usually are.